Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out today and joining us on this webinar. My name is Christy Thompson, and I'm the Sales and Marketing Director here at BIS Technology Group. Just a few housekeeping things. Please make sure to keep yourself muted. We'll open it up at the end for Q&A, and then if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat. This is also being recorded, so listen out a recording after the webinar. So the webinar is how to make effective New Year's resolutions about your health that will impact your business, and I'm going to pass it over to Phillip Long, CEO. Phillip?
All right, Chrissy, thank you very much, and thank everybody for joining. I think it's going to be a productive time with some really very, healthy kind of habits to do. This time of year, people start to think about New Year's resolutions and all those type things. And one thing that, I'm really becoming to realize, maybe because I'm getting older, but oftentimes I think as a young man, you think, well, I'm going to take care of my family, I'm going to take care of my employees, I'm going to do all those things. But the reality is you're not going to do well at taking care of anybody if you don't take care of yourself. So we figured we would jump on this today and talk about how that your health and how that's going to impact your business, and to make really resolutions that can last, that are really sustainable. So of course, most of you guys on here, you know who I am. I'm been around a while, and work in the IT space, as well as really my role has become more and more as I want to help business owners. And I have a very special guest today. This is Andrew Waters. He's actually my CrossFit coach, and he's been doing CrossFit for over 8 years. He owns CrossFit Strong Heart in Foley, and he has, he's a certified bona fide guy, and really is. He's dedicated to the pursuit of excellence in fitness coaching and business, and really, I consider him a friend. He's helped me out a lot, and I mean, I'm down like 30 pounds in the last 4 months from working out with him, so I'm definitely a fan. Welcome, Andrew.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about, this is one of the first conversations that you and I had, was why fads don't last and how ultimately they can be bad for us. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so basically, what we're talking about with fads is more like fad diets. And pretty much all the diets that you see, I mean, if you think back in the past, you could, I don't know if everybody remembers the South Beach diet, Mediterranean diet, the Atkins diet, which is now the keto diet, and all these diets that gain popularity, but yet every few years you get a new one that comes out, just like, exercise equipment on TV. And it's like, well, if the first one was so good, why do we need another one?
Yeah.
And really, all of these diets work as long as they account for calorie intake. So as long as you're not eating more calories than you're burning throughout the day, you're going to lose weight. So these fads, though, they typically they really reduce your calorie intake. So you're pretty much starving yourself, which is why you get the quick results. And that's really, people, they fall into that trap of wanting that instant gratification. They want to, look in the mirror a week after starting that diet and really see some results versus, implementing healthy habits in their life, and taking it as a lifestyle and not a 6-week endeavor that they're going to endure. You go on a diet where it's like, all right, I'm going to eat 2 crackers for breakfast and a celery stick for lunch and then a protein shake for dinner. And it's like, yeah, of course you're going to lose a ton of weight really fast, but what happens to your body while doing that, it starts to metabolic compensation is what the term is. And basically what it is, your body kind of it stops burning as much energy as it was before. So your metabolism starts to decrease because of the decreased calorie consumption that you're, the calorie state that you're in. So your body's always trying to reach homeostasis to where it's burning as much as what you're putting in. And it's a lagging thing. So you cut calories drastically, you lose weight, your metabolism starts to dive dive down, and then you go back to eating what you were eating before because you haven't made any healthy changes. You just did a fad diet. Now you're consuming a ton of calories over what your metabolism is now at. So now your calorie intake has surpassed the rate at which you're burning calories, and now you're just in this state of just adding on excess fat. And there's been several studies done with cell fat cell count, and it almost doubles when you have a starvation, or when you're in a starvation state and then going to an overfed state. You now have a ton more fat cells, and the ability to gain fat has increased substantially. So you're actually doing yourself more harm than good.
Yeah, that was the thing. When we talked, I was like, man, that makes sense. You lose a bunch of weight, you go on a diet, you lose a bunch of weight, and then all of a sudden you get off the diet. You're sick and tired of being hungry, so you overeat, and then you actually weigh more. And 3 months or 6 months later, you weigh more than you did whenever, and that makes perfect sense that that's what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, even from an evolutionary standpoint, your body's going to try to fight any or prepare for any future starvation state by allowing itself to accumulate more fat stores, which is essentially just stored energy.
Yeah.
So,
Well, cool. Well, let's talk about ways to ultimately increase energy and productivity. We're talking really to an audience of, primarily business owners, and that's always something that any good business owner is going to want to be is try to figure out a way to increase productivity. And sometimes I think whenever we talk about productivity, um, I think people think of that as like cracking the whip or whatever, and they don't think about it more as when you're productive, when your energy level's up, you're also happier. So one of the things I like to say about health is that all areas of life, all ships rise with the tide, and that's really what I've been doing. So let's jump in on the first one, and these are Andrew's ideas here. And he kind of ranked them, I think, in order of greatest impact. So this should be, first and foremost is mindset. What are you talking about whenever you have a healthy mindset? What is that?
well, everything that you experience in life, good or bad, happens in your mind. Um, so really, if you can get your mind right, so to speak, you can kind of get a better perspective on things. And basically, what I mean when I say mindset, I got it from a book from Carol Dweck. She's a teacher and a psychology professor, I believe at Stanford. And she had done some studies, and she actually worked with kids. But basically, she outlines two different types of mindsets. Fixed mindset people. Well, there's fixed and there's growth. So a fixed mindset person would be someone who thinks, because I wasn't born with a particular talent, that I'll never have that talent, and there's no sense in trying. So like I see it a lot, with a lot of older people. They're like, I just don't get this technology stuff. I'm not a tech person or whatever. And I would say that person has a fixed mindset. The growth mindset people would see a challenge as an opportunity to grow and to better themselves. So, we all have a growth or fixed mindset, just depending on the area. So some people have a growth mindset about some things and a fixed mindset about others. So, I'm not trying to put anybody in camps here, but if we can get our mindset to a growth mindset about just about anything, really, then we can change our perspective. And now this difficult task, we view it not as a chore, but just as a challenge. Similar to lifting weights. I mean, that's a lot like working farm work, moving one heavy object from one spot to the next. but if you view it as something that's going to improve you, it's a lot, it's a lot easier to endure then.
Yeah.
Um,
I
so
was talking to your brother Matt, and he was talking to me about just how our human mind works, and how the fact that if we didn't have challenges, life would be really boring. It would be, it really wouldn't be worth living. There'd be really no big excitement if we didn't have some sort of pressure, or some sort of I call it challenge, or some something to do. And
yeah,
and he dug in a little, he kind of went a few layers deep into that thought, and I was like, man, that's right. I mean, if you got up and you had nothing really to do, and you just sat there, life would be horrible. And it's really our mindset on how we view the challenges of the day, and how we're going to go into that. um, you know Recognizing, I talk a lot about emotional intelligence, understanding who you are, and how the world perceives you, and all those type things, and then being able to recognize that you're having a particular emotion, but emotion doesn't necessarily drive feelings. We That's one of the beautiful things about being a human being, is the fact that we have the ability to set our mind, which is to me really very fascinating. And I wish I would have known a lot of this stuff when I was younger, because a challenge isn't necessarily a bad thing.
right. Yeah. And when I talk about, mindset, I'm with just the health perspective in mind. A lot of people say, well, I'm not good at the gym stuff, or um, I'm not a big fan of vegetables, or, they see all these challenges and they're just like, well, I wasn't born with it. I was born, everybody in my family is overweight and this and that and the other. So they kind of have a fixed mindset about their health and nutrition. They don't see that they could actually be, as healthy as they would want to be, if they accept the challenge as just that, a challenge, um, and not a chore. But yeah, there's something else that goes along with mindset too. What you were talking about, being able to observe feelings as feelings. Um, there's mindfulness meditation. I know it sounds kind of hokey, but there's really nothing hokey about it. It's really just you trying to observe your mind and observe any feeling that or sensation that you're feeling. I mean, like I said, everything that happens to you in life happens to you in your mind. Um, so that's really all we have. And if you can sit back and you can, train your mind and quiet it, and you notice anxiety, and you see anxiety as the feeling of anxiety, it's kind of hard to explain. Or you see fear as fear, like what I'm feeling right now is fear, and you notice it objectively, like almost outside of yourself.
Yep.
um, then you can almost change it instantly. Not saying that you'll never be afraid, but just it really helps if you're, well, I'm frustrated right now. This is the feeling of frustration. So it's um, really beneficial in
Yep.
my view.
All right. So let's talk about the second thing, sleep. Why is sleep so important?
If you could put everything that refers to health and wellness in a pyramid, with the base being the most important thing, sleep would have to be at the bottom for sure. It's everything. Everything rests on sleep. If you're not getting enough sleep and enough good quality, high quality sleep, for one, you're not going to be productive. You're going to tend to overeat more. You're not going to have motivation to go work out. Um, it really just, if you're not getting good sleep, all of the scientific data that we have right now points to a lack of sleep in people, causing higher amounts of anxiety, stress, early death, all sorts of chronic disease. So
Yeah. How much
yeah,
is enough?
enough would be anything 7 hours or greater. So 7 hours is kind of the minimum, base minimum. And that's not 7 hours in bed. That's 7 hours of actual sleep from the time that you fall asleep till you wake up.
Does it
And you
need to
want
be
this,
contiguous?
yes, continuous sleep, uninterrupted. So there's a lot of things that you could do to help um, create that environment to where you get that uninterrupted sleep. And it's going to be based a lot on why you wake up. Some people wake up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and that's a big disruption to your sleep. So, if that's your problem, then what you would want to do is just not drink fluids a couple hours before you go to bed, just so you do get that sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost really, you got to have again, looking at the problem objectively is a great way to, to really get yourself there.
Yeah. So, if you're not getting enough sleep, your hormone balance is going to be off. You're not going to be productive at all. The people that they brag about being the type to burn the candle at both ends. That's not conducive to a healthy lifestyle at all. And eventually, those people are going to burn out or fail. Because they're just not putting the building blocks in the right order.
Yeah.
So if you want, I could go over a couple of tips to get good quality sleep.
Absolutely. That was the next question.
Okay. So, the not drinking fluids a couple hours before bed, so you're not up using the bathroom. Caffeine intake is a big one. A lot of people drink the stimulants, in Diet Coke, coffee, tea. I would say about noon, 12 o'clock would probably be the cutoff time for all caffeine intake if you're looking to optimize your sleep. Even if everybody handles caffeine a little bit different. If you're one of those people that say, you know what, I could drink a cup of coffee and go to bed, that's not a point to brag about, because you're probably just exhausted and nearing burnout yourself if you could drink a cup of coffee and then fall asleep. So no caffeine past noon. Our devices, if you could turn your phone and television, computer monitor off, that'll really help out, because of the blue light that's emitted from these screens, from LCD screens, is a signal to your brain, that you need to be in a wake state. They've even done studies where a person is sleeping, they're monitoring the brain waves, and they take a pinpoint light on the back of the person's knee, and they shine that light at the skin on the back of their knee, and the person automatically starts coming into a wake state. So light can really affect your sleep mood, or your quality of sleep. 7 hours is the minimum. So what you would want to do is go to sleep at the same time every night and wake up at the same time every morning. And that's probably the biggest thing, is being on that set schedule. So how much sleep that you're wanting to get is going to determine when you set that bedtime and wake time. Yeah, I can't stress that enough. Just your body loves to be on a schedule and to be on a routine. It's going to handle that the best. You don't want to go to bed too hungry. You don't want to go to bed too full. You want to be in a room that's about 62 to 68 degrees. So nice and cool. That's always going to be the best. And, a really good mattress, pillows, sheets, things like that are really they're really worth the investment to buy the higher quality stuff.
Cool.
So
that's really helpful.
yeah.
All right, let's talk about the next thing on the agenda is what we call the habit of exercise. And, I'm a big guy about habits. That's one of the big things that I'm trying to set in myself, is to have a habit of doing, right things across the board, and just make it to where it's almost second nature. That's, to me, is what a habit is where it's second nature. That's what I do because that's who I am. And really, Socrates said basically that we are our habits. And if you want to change yourself, you change your habits. So let's talk about the habit of exercise.
Yeah. So anytime we talk about exercise, really, or starting a routine, people get in a motivated state, and they rely on motivation a lot to drive them into the gym or out there on the track to run some miles. And motivation is really a fleeting emotion. Motivation is only going to stick with you so long. So what you really want to try to do is form a habit of exercise. And I know we got a couple of points later on in the talk on how to help create those habits, or some tricks really. But the habit of exercise is probably the most important habit health wise that you can create for yourself. If you can view going to the gym or doing your daily workout, doesn't have to be at a gym, it could be anything, your daily pickup basketball game or weekly pickup basketball game or something like that. That's going to be probably the most beneficial thing you can do for yourself, because people that exercise on a regular basis, even without thinking about it, they're going to have a better diet. They're going to have all the better measurements as far as the correlates to health, like blood pressure, cholesterol numbers, um, fasting blood sugar tests. All those are going to be better than anyone who, even if they eat healthy but don't exercise. So yeah, exercise is of great importance. And I like to tell people, like, I have a podcast episode entitled title it "Brush Your Teeth." So we want people to think of working out or getting that daily exercise in just like brushing your teeth. You don't. Your parents probably help you instill that habit of brushing your teeth. Making you brush your teeth every night. So now it's something you don't even really think about. You don't dread going to brush your teeth. Usually you look at it like a beneficial thing, like it's just part of your routine.
Yep.
Brushing my teeth, going to work. Brushing my teeth, going to bed. So yeah, try to create that habit of daily exercise.
And it's just like sleep. You want to get yourself in a pattern of where
Right.
I've been coming to 5 o'clock class. It works best for my schedule. And so one of the things that I do is I just get up and I don't let the alarm go off. I just stand up and I start getting dressed and I head that way.
Yeah, waking up without an alarm. That's another thing I forgot to mention about sleep, but that's a good habit to get into, waking up before your alarm goes off.
Yeah.
Just so you don't have that stress response hearing that alarm. But yeah, just making it part of your routine, and the mindset thing will help with that too. Changing your perspective about exercise, and what is fun.
All right. So I want to talk a little bit about negative visualization. Actually, you're the first person I ever heard even discuss this, and you talked a little bit about Navy SEALs and how they use this. And tell me what it is and how, from a healthy lifestyle perspective, you can use it.
Yeah, so negative visualization is really just preparing yourself for the worst situation that you might encounter. The Navy SEALs that went and got Osama bin Laden, they didn't go to training every day and think, okay, this is how it's going to go. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. We're going to get that guy, just like that. No, they plan for when things don't go their way. And that's really the most important thing you can plan for. Michael Phelps planned for the same thing. His coach had him visualize, diving into the water and having your glasses or your goggles slip. So now you don't have that. He even practiced for it too. So, when I talk about negative visualization and try to get people to utilize it, Usually it's when it comes to creating that habit of exercise is, you get motivated and you start visualizing all the positive benefits um, of going to your workout routine and starting to clean up your diet, and it's really easy to visualize that in your head, to think, oh yeah, it's going to be great. I can eat just, chicken and broccoli every day. It's easier to think about that after you just had a big meal. You eat a pizza and then immediately afterward, you know what, that diet wouldn't be too hard. But what you would want to do is visualize in your mind with as much detail as possible those times when you really don't want to wake up and go to the gym, where you're super tired and it's cold outside and it's raining and you have a lot to do today, and every excuse in the book starts flooding in your mind to make you want to stay in bed. Try to visualize that and prepare for it and have a plan for it. That no, we're getting up anyway. This is what we're going to do when times get tough, when the going gets rough. So
Yeah. One thing that I really, I mean, this hits home with me, because when I first started coming, I was sore and I was, hurting, and all the things that happen when you first start working out, and I would make up excuses, and I was coming like 3 days a week, and quite frankly, the I've been coming 5 days a week now, and it's helped so much because I burn out that soreness on the next day, so that I don't put myself into that situation. And I think that using that kind of mindset to think about, even when you don't feel like it, picturing it's going to be challenging in the morning, because I know I had a, rough day, or I got a big day behind that workout. But you want to focus and be really steadfast. And I like what you talked about. You don't want to lean on motivation, because humans have a very strong willpower, but it lasts a very short amount of time. It's strong, and yet it has no endurance. So really, you want to make a commitment. In order to, you make the commitment long enough to form the habit.
yeah, if you really want to see how weak your willpower is, try doing a water only fast. It'll sound like a good idea at first, for the first few hours, but probably about 3 hours into that fast, you're going to be second guessing yourself. Should I do this? Do I want to do this really? And everything's going to come into your mind like, this is stupid. Why would I do this? Let me make a sandwich. Um, so your plan for a day of only drinking water turns into about 3 hours, and then you're eating everything on the kitchen counter. So.
Yep, that's me. Let's that kind of is a good segue for us to kind of talk about, getting the right fuel. And, I think a lot of times, we don't think about food as, it's rawest of essence, that, it really is. It's fuel. It's fuel for our body. And, if we want to run like a race car, we probably don't want to put, bad fuel in the tank, because we're not going to run like a race car. And it's really pretty much that simple. And, want you to talk about, because we've talked about, I know you do a lot of videos and things like that, meal prep, and trying to make healthy dishes. Talk to me about what it means to get the right fuel, and what is the wrong fuel, probably is the topic there too.
Yeah, so it's more about what you don't eat, more so than what you do. You see a lot of newspaper articles and magazine articles about how healthy this food or that food is, whatever's the trending topic of the day. But I believe most people, the vast majority of people, know what they should and should not eat. Most people know that you shouldn't eat cookies and chips and ice cream and pizza and hamburgers and fries, if you want to be a healthy person. So yeah, if you could change your mindset, this is all coming back to mindset. If you could change your mindset and view the food that you eat, as fuel for your body to get you through the day, um, then you're going to be a lot healthier. If you use food, say you've had a bad day or some stressful event happen, and you're like, you know what I need? I need to just go get I'm going to order pizza. That'll make me feel better. Um, Food is fuel. It is not something you use to make yourself feel better. If you're doing that, you're essentially a drug addict. Um, People use drugs to make themselves feel better. Um, you don't want to use food like that. So, if you could just change your mindset and view it as fuel, then you'll actually run better. You'll be a highly productive person. A lot of people, they say, you know what, I've started this diet and I just feel a lot better. I feel like I have more energy. Whenever you consume like a ton of carbohydrates or really just a ton of calories in general, you want to take a nap really versus get back to work. So there's a lot of different tips and tricks that I tell people when they're trying to lose weight, and it really just depends on the person on as to what step that we start out on. Because everybody's in a different spot. Um, with how they grew up or how their parents fed them. That plays a large role in that too. But yeah, use food drugs.
Yeah, for me, what's funny is that what I would do. I love food. I mean, I definitely love food, and what I was kind of getting, what I realized about myself is that I'm a big ice cream guy, milkshakes, ice cream, and say I go out and I have a bad meeting or I have something hard I don't want to do. Well, I want a milkshake. Well, my problem is that when something good happens, to reward myself, I want a milkshake. And so, you gotta put all that into perspective. So talk to us about, like some of the things that you guys are, that you're doing as far as from are you meal prepping? Are you just shopping on the, you and I talked about shopping on the outside of the store. Do you put the cookies in the house or you just not have them there? I mean, what's some tactics you can use to help yourself eat healthier?
Yeah, so me and Matt did a podcast recently about the ways at which these food companies can try to trick you. And a lot of people that they feel like they're eating healthy because all of the boxes of food that they buy have pastel colors and earthy colors on it, or they say heart healthy on the front of the box, or high in omega-3 fatty acids or some other sort of nonsense. And really, you got to check the ingredients list for foods. So if you say, oh, I'm a mayonnaise person, but I don't want to eat soybean oil because that's what mayonnaise is made out of, I'm going to buy this olive oil mayonnaise. Well, if you read the ingredients list, it says olive oil mayonnaise on the cover. But if you look at the main ingredient is soybean oil, and then down toward the bottom of the list is olive oil. So they put a dab of olive oil in it so that they can say that this is olive oil mayonnaise. And soybean oil is very unhealthy for you. It causes high amounts of inflammation in your body. Olive oil is much better for you. But in order to avoid all of that, so you don't have to become, an ingredient inspector every time you go shopping, is just to shop on the perimeter of the grocery store. That's where they keep all the fresh fruits, vegetables, meats, and dairy too. Uh, I'm actually a big proponent of dairy, but if Philip, do you know the nutrition label on food where it says your calories and how much fat's in a serving and how many carbs?
Yep.
Yeah. So if something you're buying from the store has that on it, it's not food. So that's another good rule to follow. They don't have to put that on real food. If you go to buy a sirloin, in the beef section, you're not going to find that on the package usually, unless it's some sort of like, name brand. But the butcher in the back doesn't have to calculate how many or piece of chicken. You just bag your broccoli, you bag your asparagus, your carrots, and yeah, stick to the perimeter and avoid all the nonsense. We also talked about a couple of things. If you have kids, you want to try to avoid bringing your kids with you to the store, because all that fancy advertising, they set that at eye level with children, like the cereals and snack foods and stuff, to try to specifically target kids because they're more susceptible than adults to marketing. So shop without your kids, shop on the perimeter of the grocery store, um, and just keep all that stuff out of your house. If it's out of sight, you're going to be less likely to eat it. I know if somebody brought a pan of brownies into my house, it would make it a lot harder for me to resist it whenever I got a sweet tooth or craving. So keep it out of your house, keep it out of your fridge. Yep.
So talk to me a little bit about, really some, how do you integrate this into, your life and your business? Let's say that you're a person, you're like me. Let's talk about me, a few months back. I've been working basically 20 years, 20 plus years, 25 years, basically, at a desk. Of course, I'm out of the office a lot, but, fast food, that's what I do for lunch, or I do meetings for lunch. That's another big, thing that people do a lot in business is you meet for lunch. So talk to me about, how do you integrate that healthy initiative into your life? And then I know that you can do a little bit of coaching with some folks like in business. What are some, what's a day in the life look like? Give us a rundown of some really practical things that you can start. I mean, you can even do it by the hour if you want to or something.
Yeah, so it really all depends on your schedule. If you're as soon as you wake up, you brush your teeth, get your coffee, and head out of the door. You might stick to a protein shake or something like that for breakfast. But the biggest thing I would say probably is just to plan your day ahead as far as nutrition and workout. All right, I'm going to work out at this time. I have this lunch meeting. We're supposed to go to this restaurant. So you could look at things that you could do ahead of time to keep you from ordering, the unhealthier dish versus, the healthier one. Look into the menu, plan for that. All right, I know that when I go, I'm going to get the salad. I'm going to order the unsweet tea, um, or just meal prep, like what you were talking about earlier. We do some meals. We'll do a couple of meals to meal prep that are just easy and don't take a lot of time. You don't have to make a fancy meal for yourself. But another thing is just a meal prep, just the protein. I got a video coming out about that. But yeah, if you just the protein's probably in your meal, like your chicken or beef or whatever, is probably the most time consuming thing that you have to cook. So if you could just cook that ahead of time, just the protein, then now you have the hard parts out of the way, and you can kind of come up with creative ways to eat chicken. There's a million dishes you can make with just chicken, as long as you have it cooked ahead of time. But yeah, the biggest thing I guess would just be to plan.
Yeah, if you don't if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, and that's right. Just like with anything else, and I really believe that it's something that is so. I mean, I'm the guy. I'm that guy that didn't see it. I mean, I just did not have the. It just was not on my radar. I mean, I knew I was overweight and all that stuff, but it's just something that you don't look at objectively, like a business owner or business person, or, just somebody who's, not looking at things objectively to say, how would you handle this challenge? And, I think sometimes that we get in that habit. And again, it goes back to habits. We get in the habit of eating a certain way. One time I told my daughter, this is kind of a stupid story, but I'll tell it. I was trying to lose weight, and I just bought a motorcycle, and I was telling her basically the caloric intake rule, where it's like I take my motorcycle to the store to put gas in it to the gas station, and I fill it up. Well, if I try to put more in it than it can burn, or that I burn going to the store, well, I got to put a gas tank on the side, and then I fill that one up. Well, then I put another one on the other side, and it's really, a lot of life is that if you're putting in more fuel than you're burning, then you're going to wind up with some spare tanks laying around. And I think that's one good way to think about things. And we talked a little bit about calorie counting and some apps. Tell me a little bit about that from a practical standpoint.
Yeah, so what I'm a big proponent of is it's called flexible dieting, and that's where we're not really restricted in the foods that we eat, but it's just a temporary training period, and you would use a calorie tracking app. I use MyFitnessPal, and basically what that is just a library of foods. So you can scan barcodes, or they have restaurants already in there, and you can select the item, and it'll have all the calorie breakdown, and you really get the view of what your diet is made of. I always try to get people to start out just tracking, just not changing anything about how you're eating, but just track, weigh and measure everything that you're eating and enter it into the MyFitnessPal app, and we can see how much protein you're getting in a day, how much fat, how many grams of carbs, and you could really get a picture of what someone's doing, and you can get your metabolic rate. I think a lot of people misunderstand that. They say, "Oh, I have a slow metabolism," and then you have them track, and they're eating 5,000 calories a day and not gaining any weight. And it's like, well, your metabolism is running at 5,000 calories a day. That's a really fast metabolism. So yeah, it just really helps you get a picture. And like I was saying about prepping, for those business meetings, if you know that you're going to go to let's say a house party dinner, and someone invited you over, hey, come over, we're having steaks. Well, you can go ahead and enter that in for your dinner. You say, all right, I know for dinner I'm going to have steak, and I'm going to have this, that, and the other. So now my breakfast and lunch need to be this lean. I need to only eat this for lunch and only eat this for breakfast, and then everything's going to fit. And I'm not going to feel bad about going to this dinner party and eating, the foods that they had out for me. I'm not going to be the weirdo, that's, because everybody's going to talk down on you if you're eating not like them, so they're going to judge you. So to avoid that, you just track everything, and it's really a sustainable way to do things.
Yeah,
nobody's going to live on chicken and broccoli for the rest of their life. So if you can track and really know exactly what a meal needs to look like in order for it to fit within your nutrition goals, then it's going to help you a ton throughout your life for sure.
Cool. All right. Kind of next here, really trying to perform. I'm gonna pitch a guy's book out for everybody, and it's this Brendan Bouchard. He wrote a book, and it talks about high performance habits. He calls them the HP6. And I really think this is a really good thing. And again, I think that oftentimes people see like somebody who's trying to do better in life. They see them as, I don't know if they're envious or jealous, or brings out the hate in them, or what. Haters gonna hate or whatever. But the beauty of the way this guy does it, I like, is the fact that he talks about real people. He studied real people that were highly successful, high performance type people. And these are the habits that they have. I'm going to share them with everybody real quick. But the beauty of what the end result of these highly productive people were, is they were much happier. And their life, they live longer, all these things that anybody that looked at life and said, hey, I want to have a good life, and you were to define what a good life was, that's the things that these people did. So I think it's really good that we, as me, as a, any platform that we have, we want to uplift society. We want to help people. And I'll just share these really quick, that really I'm working on these, trying to make these things habits. One of them talks about, seeking clarity. And being intentional is the word that comes to mind for me. Is really going in there and having a plan for the day. Another one is generate energy. Wherever you go, try to don't be a sloth. Be a person who brings some energy to the table, and really to get something done. And then another really habit that I like is raise necessity, where like if you're going to go on a diet, tell your friends, don't talk to people, tell them what you're going to do and what goal and when it's going to happen, because in telling others, you're setting basically goals up, and you don't want to let other people down. That's a good way to get something done. Those are kind of on the personal side of things. And then on the social side of things, you want to try to increase productivity. And the way if you want to increase productivity, really you just need to track it. If you write down your goals, they're going to get better. And if you track them over time, they're going to get exponentially better. That's just the law of humanity or whatever. If you're really tracking and setting things down and you're writing them down. Same way with health goals. Really, that's one of the things I like a lot about CrossFit, is the fact that you measure what you did, and over time, I've made huge strides. I couldn't even do a squat when I started, and this morning, I don't know how many I did, or maybe it was yesterday morning. I did probably 100 of them. And then on the social side, you want to develop influence. You want to be a positive person, and you want to develop influence in a positive way to help others. And then, finally, on the social side, is you want to demonstrate courage. We don't want to, kind of going all the way back to what we talked about kind of early on. A lot of times we are, we don't want to stand out or whatever. Well, you don't want to stand out for the wrong things, but you do want to stand out for the right things. And, you have to be intentional about, demonstrating courage, doing the right things, being a person of substance, and really standing for something. I think these are things that are, I think kind of go into all of this. You can put that right into the health area, as well as really just life in general. And early on, whenever we were first talking, a lot, the thing I liked about what your whole approach was that it wasn't just something to get you by. This was something that you're going to live the rest of your life doing these things, because I think that's one of the challenges that people have, is that they don't. They're thinking short-term goals rather than that compound effect of doing something good over a longer period of time turns into something super great, and it forms those habits that really make you something. What's your thoughts on high performance habits, Andrew?
Well, I really like the book. He references a lot of books that I've read previously. Of course, one he referenced the Mindset book by Carol Dweck. He referenced How to Win Friends and Influence People. And what was the other one? I think maybe Traction, with the goals portion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when if you're looking to achieve high performance in your life, it's all going to come down to you, and you have to perform the best that you can perform. And if you're not healthy, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not eating the right foods, you're not going to perform well, and it's going to show.
Yeah, I think one of the things I really like about what he, in that book, he talked about, if change is going to happen, this type of change, good positive change like this, it's going to happen from within. And too often, people kind of take that victim mentality, and they're blaming the world for all their problems. And, sadly, they're going to stay where they are, or probably get worse, is the way I see it. And that's kind of the gist of what he's talking about. If you're going to make a difference, you're going to have to make up your mind to make a difference. And probably the smartest way to make a long lasting difference is to make some great habits, form these habits, and then that's really who you're going to become. And that's where I always reference Socrates, and that's that was one of his big things that he recognized, and I think that's paramount in in who we are and who we want to be remembered to be, and all those kind of things, is to to plan it, be intentional about who you are, and then do the execution and follow through. So let's talk a little bit about really what should you do, because knowledge without action is pretty useless in my view. And Andrew is been kind enough that he's willing to give everyone on the call a free health and fitness consultation. And I think you guys were throwing in a free week of training, or what is it?
Yeah, if you want to give me a call or stop by, or we could talk in the Q&A afterward. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have, and give you some practical advice and step by step on what you should do. You asked what should I do next? Well, without talking to anybody, I would say set a bedtime and a wake time, and make sure you're getting at minimum 7 hours of sleep every night. That would probably be the first habit to implement.
Mm-hmm.
Step one.
Yeah. Well, and again, we're going to have a thing here where you guys can email in. We can connect you right up with Andrew, and then also, kind of from the BIS side, we'll give you guys a free technology planning session. A lot of times, especially right now, we're kind of at this transition phase where, Windows 7 is going to end of life. A lot of people don't even know that, and it's not going to end of life until January of next year. But you really want to plan for it. You can get ahead of the curve, and maybe you don't want to do it till Q2, Q3 or whatever, but at least you can sit down and plan for what are you doing in the coming year. I think a lot of times we get excited about a new year and all that, but we really don't do the what it takes to make the year different than the previous year. And that's why we wanted to do this at this time of year, is because a lot of people, you hear them talking about what they're going to do and how things are going to be different. I'm pretty intentional, and I'll set a theme for the year, and something really simple, and then I'll just, they always say if you want better answers, you have to ask better questions, and then you just keep questioning yourself about that, and how you're going to make it better, and how you're going to make it better, and how you're going to make it better, and you really move I call it moving the ball. And that's one of my goals for 2019 is, I've got some real health type goals, what I want to do in the gym, but also have a lot of business goals that I want to meet. I don't want to be basically the person I was last year. I want to be a better person this year, and I think that's what we need to be about. And I want to hang out with people like that. So anybody on the call that's interested in sitting down for a chat, let me know. We are asking everybody to kind of get this in and get it done. I don't want to keep it open forever. But if you're on the call or whatever, all you got to do is email, and we'll hook you up with Andrew or me, or Christy, whoever. Just email events@askbis.com. Christy, do we have any questions, you guys? If y'all want to ask any questions or anything, I'll unmute everybody. Sometimes that works well, sometimes it doesn't. So we're fixing to unmute everybody. If anybody has any questions, or they can put it in the chat window. Christy, any questions come in during the thing?
2 questions came in. One, how can you incentivize your employees to get healthy?
Andrew, I'm going to let you take that.
Yeah, so what we try to talk to the larger corporations about, or even smaller companies, is find out what's keeping them from getting healthy. A lot of people will say it's their schedule or their finances. and basically just take away any excuse that they have. Um, you know, the city of Foley, they implement a kind of a payback, where if you go to, because we do tracking, we do attendance tracking, and we do workout tracking, so we could actually show, um, if your employees came to us and were training with us, we could say, well, this is how many times that they come to the gym. And our gym, it's not like a room full of equipment. It's a fitness class that's led by a certified instructor. A lot of times that's me. So you're not just coming in and twiddling your fingers. You're actually getting a workout. So one of the incentives that they'll implement is, well, based on your attendance report, we'll reimburse you, a portion or all of your gym membership. So in order to get that money, they're paying out of their pocket, and in order to get it back, they have to come to the gym a certain amount of times.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. Any other questions, Christy?
Yeah, one other one came in: how to get energy at work.
Andrew, I'll let you take that one too, buddy. I need all the advice I can get.
Yeah. If you want more energy at work, get your blood pumping, break a sweat before you get there. Tons of studies show that people who work out have higher energy levels. So I always feel like it gets my day going really good if I do my workout in the morning, the first thing in the morning, and it also kind of keeps things from coming in the way to stop me from getting my workout in. If it's the first thing you do in the day, there's nothing that's going to pop up throughout the day that's going to keep you from it. So you go ahead and knock it out, and you'll have a ton more energy. You'll be in a much better mood at work, and it'll just make everything better, really.
Okay, and we had another one come in through chat. For a vegetarian lifestyle, what would you recommend for protein sources, protein shakes?
Vegetarian, I would assume that means that you're not vegan, so you do drink milk. Milk is a very it's high. It's bioavailable protein in milk, and then any kind of whey protein. Um, Not sure why vegetarian, but most of your plant-based proteins, they do have some protein powders that are plant-based, but they're not going to really be a complete source of protein. Um, I would avoid soy protein at all costs. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be either through milk or through, the milk derivatives like whey protein. That would be your best bet.
Now let's I mean, like for instance, we're talking a little bit about, trying to eat well and to curb hunger. Let's just talk about from a curbing hunger standpoint. Um, if you're not getting protein, you're going to be hungry, right?
Yeah, but really, calories are going to be the biggest thing that are going to curb hunger.
Okay.
That and chewing. So there's a there's a term that we use when we diet, and we call it volume. And what that means is basically the higher volume of food that you eat, the less likely you are to be hungry. So all the meals that you eat, you typically want them to have a high volume but lower calories. And bang for your buck, there is nothing better than vegetables to increase the amount of volume that you eat, to help curb hunger. So you're doing a ton of chewing, but you're not overdoing it on the calories.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's really no other way to go about it. Egg whites, you do a lot of chewing with egg whites, and they're very low calorie. So lean protein and vegetables are going to be your best bet.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
You
Anything?
can fall off of broccoli really quick. So believe it or not.
Yeah. Anything else? Christy, anybody else?
Yes, any recommended reading?
Philip?
Well, yeah, I'm pretty much I do Audible. For health wise, I wouldn't be the guy because I'm more looking for, if you're a business person, I could give you some books. And to me, I would start with a book called The Go Giver. And it really changes your philosophy from being a go getter to being a go giver. And it's funny, we've had that book around for a long time. It was something that was introduced by someone. I bet it's been well over 5 years. And I've often thought, a lot of times we try to keep our hands shut so nothing comes out of it. And the reality is nothing will get in it either. And so, you really want to try to meet people where they are and try to help them. And that's what that book is about. And especially, as we're getting older, we've learned some things. We've been through some things, just on a kind of a tangent note here is the fact that, they study, the brain, activity of people whenever they hear bad news. Well, whenever older people hear it, they don't get near the light up, if you will. They don't get near the brain activity. It's because they've been through it and they know that it's gonna work itself out. They know that all things will pass. This too shall pass. They understand that. And I think helping people, and that's a good place to start at that go giver. But from a business perspective, I would do the go giver. I would do E-Myth, Revisited. It's a new version, E-Myth, which is basically how to set up processes within an organization or within a lifestyle so that you're able to form those habits that are going to be healthy. And then, I like a lot gosh, man, there's so many. Good to Great is a great book that talks about how good is the enemy of great. I think it's one of the biggest challenges that you'll find somebody who hasn't or doesn't want to change from within, why good isn't good enough and how great really and truly it makes life so much better. And we should strive for that and not say pat ourselves on the back, but just for the people around us, man. It really helps. And then, of course, Traction from a model of the book called Traction by Gino Wickman. And I'm happy to share, man, I got a ton of books. Happy to share any of that kind of conversation. But from a health standpoint, Andrew, that's kind of the topic, man. Is there anything you necessarily read?
Mindset by Carol Dweck, that's a big one because it's foundational to anything that's going to be challenging in your life, which, taking on a new nutrition or trying to look at what you eat in a different light and how you treat your body in a different light is going to be huge. Also, probably book wise about it, I would say, Why We Get Fat by Gary Taubes. That helps a lot just so you understand what happens in the body when you eat these highly refined carbohydrates and things like that. If you can kind of, I think, knowledge is power. So, the more you know about what's happening to your body and the what you're doing to it on the inside whenever you eat that stuff, I find it's more likely to influence you in a positive direction as to, I don't want to do this to my body, so I'm not gonna eat that donut or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But
I actually
yeah, go ahead.
I just had two that I was going to say too. So one of my favorites is Food Rules by Michael Pollan, which is kind of like an eater's manual. And then my other one is Brain Maker because it talks about, pretty much like your gut can also help with your brain. So those are my two favorite.
Cool. Well, guys, we're a few minutes over, and I appreciate everybody hanging in there with us on this. And again, we want to be givers. So if you have any questions or any comments, I would highly recommend Andrew as a guy that, again, what I like about it is that he's not trying to do some fad diet that's going to work for, I got to get myself right for the beach season. Well, really we want to get ourselves right for life. And so, kind of against the fad, or not really against the fad, but your philosophy is, we don't even focus on the fad. It's a non-issue. So
we're looking for people that want to create a positive change in their life, and going on those crash diets and extreme programs are not good for you in the long run.
Yeah,
They're not going to help you, and we want to help you. We don't want to hurt you.
that's right. Well, cool. Well, thanks again, Andrew. Certainly do appreciate it. Thank you, Christy, and thanks everybody for joining us. And we're here. If you need something, you want to talk about something, let us know.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. Thanks again. Have a good day, guys.